Anthony Edwards just had a 6-game stretch where he put up some career-best scoring numbers, averaging over 38 points with ridiculous efficiency. When it comes to just getting buckets, Ant's easily one of the best guys in the league right now, and every year he's been adding more to his game, from the 3-point shooting last year to the much improved ball handling this year. Again, there's no doubt that he's making individual improvements every season, but at the same time, I still think there's some core issues that's still holding his game back. And until these issues get addressed, I think Minnesota is always going to be a step behind the current top teams in the West. In this video, we're going to go over what exactly Ant has improved on this year, and where he can also improve to truly become a complete offensive player. Now, like Ant said before the season,
I've never been able to handle the ball this good in my life.
His handle this year has legit gone up to a different level, where the ball control, footwork, and pace looks much more sharp. Now with the ball, Ant's superpower is always going to be his ability to explode into straight line drives, where he has a ridiculous first step, plus the strength to drive through the defense's frame. That kind of straight line burst has already been enough to make Ant a top tier slasher. If the defense steps up and gets in his airspace at all, it's pretty much guaranteed to be a blow-by. But that improved ball control does add some different elements. First, his ability to change direction while playing at full speed is nuts. This right here is just an aggressive 2 dribbles off the screen, then a between back to his left. But look how he's going to chop his feet before he brings the ball through, allowing him to change direction without breaking his momentum. And because of Ant's straight line driving, he's naturally forcing the defense to pivot and open up their stance. As he looks to attack across the middle, look how this defender's hips are already opened up. So Ant's going to snatch this crossover back to his left. And once he has that angle, it's pretty much over.
It's driving Edwards.
Now, along with that ability to explode and change direction, Ant can also cover a ton of ground with the ball. One of his go-tos has been this low gather, and he can connect this into literally any part of his game off the bounce. The footwork and ball control here is crazy, where he's first charging to his right, and with his momentum heavily pulling him downhill, he has the control to extend his right foot and snatch the ball through. And as the ball transfers to his left, look how he's going to dip those shoulders to sell the drive, but he then flows right back into a low gather to his right. So Edwards being able to attack angles, change direction, and use different gathers to cover ground isn't really a new thing, but I do think that improved handle has given him some different avenues for breaking down the first line of defense. First, I like how he's been using some different size ups to both read the defense and find windows to attack. One of his go-to setups has been this between cross combo. As he crossed the ball to his left here, look how Jordan Walsh just slightly shifts outside of his frame. So Ant's going to slide the ball back between and explode downhill. And again, from here, he has the footwork and ball control to slam the brakes and separate. This is pretty much the same move here, where it's a between cross to his left, and look how he dips those shoulders even more, setting up the drive back to his right. But as he's attacking downhill here, this next move is interesting, where instead of snatching the ball back, he hits a quick change of pace in and out to then pick up into a finish. Now before we dive any deeper into Ant's off the dribble game, we have to go over his pull-up shooting. So far this year, he's attempting over 8.5 3-pointers per game, and for all the players across the league who are taking over 8 outside looks per night, Ant's the most accurate at 41%. As an off-the-dribble scorer, it can't be overstated how valuable that pull-up game is, especially when mixed in with that elite driving game. So whether he's playing a pick and roll or isolation, the defense kind of has to pick their poison. If you step up and get in his jersey, you're then vulnerable to those blow-bys. But at the same time, if you sit back and play the drive, you're then giving an over 40% 3-point shooter space to rise up. But the thing is, I think Ant's improved handle this year has allowed him to more fluidly mix everything together, where he can both use that handle to threaten the drive to then give himself more space on the perimeter, or use that pace to sell the jumper and pull the defense out of position. Take this sequence for example. This is just a routine left-hand pound dribble step back. And then on this play, he sets up the same move, but when he feels the defense jumping out, he's got the control to drop back down into a drive. Now on this play, he's getting back to that between cross size up, and because of that blow by threat, look how far he gets Brooks getting back with this between step back. But then again, the handle always gives him the option to counter. As he transfers the ball through and separates back, he's now going to hesitate and drop the ball back down to his left. So as a one-on-one scorer, I actually think Edwards has gotten a lot better this year. Obviously, the pull-up shooting and slashing game is more than enough to make him a 30-plus scorer on a night-to-night basis. But I think the improved footwork and ball control does add a lot more depth to his game. He has more ways to create attacking angles in isolation, create space to separate behind the line, while also being able to dictate moves and counter when the defense is out of position.
Randall post move, by the way.
So again, when it comes to getting buckets, I have absolutely no complaints about Anthony Edwards. But when it comes to reading the defense and truly becoming a well-rounded offensive player, I still think he has a lot of the same issues. First, as a passer, and has to get better at reading the entire floor. Because of that top-tier scoring threat, he's often pulling multiple levels of defenders towards him, but he's not very good at making those cross-court reads. And with the ball, he's also not very proactive in reading double teams, and he often gets caught picking up his dribble and forcing stuff that's not there. This is just really bad court awareness here, where he tries to post up Keon Ellis with his back towards the baseline, and he doesn't read Zach LaVine rotating over to double him.
Keon couldn't. The double team came.
And when Ant does get sped up, he often falls into the habit of cranking up really bad looks. I don't like the shot here at all, where he initially gets doubled in the mid post, and with over 10 seconds on the shot clock, he dribbles out and forces up this contested three. Now with the entire defense shifted across the court like this, there's obviously better reads that he could make. And then even if he's playing in single coverage, teams are always gapping him very heavily by shrinking the floor with that aggressive help defense and almost building a wall up in front of them. Now because Ant does have a ton of talent with the ball, there are times where he can wiggle through and generate points. But at the same time, he often gets funneled into tough shots and turnovers. And that's exactly what happened in their recent game against OKC, where throughout the entire night, Edwards was consistently seeing single coverage, but there was multiple levels of defense behind the man guarding the ball. So in essence, he was pretty much playing 1-on-2 or 1-on-3. And while Ant did score 31, he also got funneled into a ton of difficult shots, and the efficiency was the lowest it's been over this recent span of games. Going forward for Ant, this has to be his biggest area of improvement. If the entire defensive floor is going to shift over towards you like this, you have to trust your teammates and make the simple play. And from Julius Randle, DiVincenzo, Naz Reid, and Jay McDaniels, Minnesota has multiple guys who can both shoot and put the ball down. So making just simple swing passes to put the defense in rotation, I think will lead to good offense. I would love to see more plays like this, where Ant proactively reads this help defender shifting over, so he just sprays it across and creates a wide open three. So when it comes to Ant's reads in isolation, there's no way he's going to beat defensive juggernauts like OKC, Houston, and Denver playing one-on-one hero ball. And even though he probably is the most talented one-on-one player in the league, he still has to get better at reading the floor and making the game easier for his teammates. Now the next thing I want to look at is Ant's passing out of pick and roll, and this is another area where I think he has a lot of room for improvement. And to me, it all comes back to how he's absorbing and reading double teams. First, he often does get sped up into turnovers, but more importantly, he doesn't really punish the defense for putting two on the ball. He'll often pick up and make the safe pass out, without creating any real breakdowns or advantages. Take this play for example. He again pulls two defenders out towards the wing. The top tier passers in the league are going to find a way to get the ball to the opposite side here, but the safe pass up to Mike Conley gives him more time to rotate. In general, Edwards has to get better at keeping his dribble alive and really embracing these doubles. Right here, this will be a great time to pull his dribble out and really bend the defense. But again, this quick pickup and pass doesn't create any real breakdowns. And that's kind of the same way he plays in the paint too, where he typically doesn't look to pass until after he's picked up his dribble, which again gives the floor more time to rotate. Look at this play. He's working his man down towards the elbow, and as this defender shifts towards the ball, that pickup and slight hesitation gives the off-ball defense more time to react. Now, another underrated issue that I see with Edwards is that he can get completely taken out of the game by the defense. His most recent matchup last night against the Pelicans was a perfect example. Going into that night, Ant was averaging exactly 24 shot attempts through the last 6 games. But but in 31 minutes of action last night, he got held to just 6 total shots. Now the obvious game plan for New Orleans was to face guard, double, and have a body attached to him throughout the entire game. And the big issue is that off the ball, there was no real effort or work to set up better catches or easier shots. He would often be stagnant and just float up towards half court. As he makes this initial pass here, you literally don't see him get back into frame. And then off the ball, when the T-Wolves try to free him up with some different off-ball screening actions, there was no real urgency or effort to get open. They're going to try to set this cross screen for him here in early offense. And with his man aggressively trying to fight over, this would be a perfect time to curl around the screen, which would most likely collapse the defense and give Nas Reed an open shot or closeout on the perimeter. But again, him just floating up towards half court doesn't put any real pressure on the defense. And from here, it's easy to put 2 on the ball and get it out of his hands. Now, it's not about enforcing the issue and taking bad shots, but more about him just not giving in to what the other team is trying to do. And him getting up just 6 shots against the Pelicans without Herb Jones shouldn't be acceptable. So I don't want to be super negative because again, I think Ant is one of the most talented players in the game right now. And from his pull-up shooting last year to the ball handling this year, his game is getting better. But at times, I do think he needs to have a more cerebral approach by reading the entire floor and punishing the weak side defense, being willing to make the simple play if teams are gapping him, plus maintaining that aggression off the ball if he's being face guarded. Going forward, Ant being a superhuman one-on-one scorer is going to be enough to beat teams like OKC, Houston, and Denver. And him currently playing in his 6th season, the time for him to take the jump as a truly complete offensive player is right now.